Hi everyone. So first of all, I'm just going to start off with a small little analogy or story. So there's a passerby walking down the street, and he notices a person with a small stack of bricks beside him. And the passerby asks, "What are you doing?" And the person replies, "Oh, I'm building a small wall." So that passerby says, "Fair enough." So he keeps walking down the street. Notices another person with a stack of bricks, kind of convenient. And passerby asks again, what are you doing? And the person replies, "Oh, I'm building a small path." So the passerby said, "Fair enough," and keeps walking down the road, and sees this old man with the same size stack of bricks, and once again asks, "What are you doing?" And the old man replies, "Oh, I'm actually building a cathedral." Now, the analogy in this is if you're anyway ambitious with this technology, the possibilities are endless. And that's what I hope to accomplish today. Hopefully, highlight some of these possibilities, what some people are actually doing, and what I'm doing with artificial intelligence. So, enough of that. I'll start sharing my screen. So, artificial intelligence, what is it? So, artificial intelligence is the simulation of human intelligence within machines. So, think of getting your brain and actually throwing it into your laptop, computer, whatever. So, what I'm going to do today is actually going to highlight another aspect of artificial intelligence known as computer vision, which is essentially how a computer gains a high level understanding of an image. So, how a computer identifies a table as a table, a chair as a chair, a person as a person, car as a car, whatever. So that's why I'm just going to focus.
Jeremiah, sorry to interrupt. Your sound has just gone a bit strange there. There's a bit of feedback or something. I don't know if you've switched to a different microphone or anything.
Nope.
Okay, well, hopefully it'll just fix itself. It's
hopefully. So artificial intelligence is absolutely everywhere, like it or not. It's in our phones. If you have Alexa at home, Google Assistant, self-driving cars, if you're getting autonomously driven from A to B, you're interacting with artificial intelligence. It's absolutely everywhere. So what I'm going to focus on today at the end of this talk is actually my project. So can artificial intelligence detect solar radio bursts, which is the radio emission associated with solar flaring activity on the sun. So that's what I'll be focusing on the end. But before that, I'm just going to highlight what's driving AI. So what is driving AI? So this is just a basic format of what a neural network is. So a neural network is actually in the driver's seat of AI. That's essentially what AI is and how it functions. So it determines, as in you see there, an image of a dog. So how does an image of a dog turn out to be actually the computer understanding, oh yes, that is a dog. So you have your input layer, which is your dog, and your output layer, which is actually the text dog, or how it identifies that is a dog. And then there's a bit of magic in the middle known as a hidden layer. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail on that, but I'm just going to show you what it looks like. In terms of this is called convolutional network. There's many networks out there, but this is the one that's kind of the one for identifying images. So essentially, this looks all complicated, but the best way I can describe it is like trying to teach a baby to identify an object. So if you give a baby a spoon, you're obviously going to fiddle around with it, identify edges. You might see it as kind of a blob at the top. And then as it's keep playing with it, it might just find out the shape, and then eventually it'll identify, yes, this is a spoon. So essentially that's how a CNN works. That's just one of the convolutional neural networks. As I said, there's many of them. That's the main one I'll be focusing in on today. So this is essentially how it learns. So it just scans an image, and then it might see edges, blobs, stuff like that before it actually determines that this is a few buildings, a bridge, a boat in the middle. I don't know if the person there can really see it. So that's how CNN works. So what I wanted to focus on before I actually talked about my stuff was artificial intelligence in space. To keep kind of the theme going. So my next slide is it's actually going to be quite interesting if anyone is trying to get on the populator. I think I'm going to have a spanner for you in the works. So building on Mars. So this is This is run by a company called Space Factories. They're actually working with NASA now, with a project known as the Mars Project. And what they're doing is using artificial intelligence along with 3D printing to create homes on Mars for future astronauts, when they go over. What's cool about this is they're actually using materials found on Mars. You might know a bit about the polymer kind of stuff, the polylactic acid. But they're using rocks as well found on Mars to make this extremely, extremely strong material to make these radiation proof, heat proof, where they only call it the full shilling when it comes to a home. Now, to get where they are, AI Space Factory entered competition run by NASA that essentially was who could build the best 3D home for Mars. There's two finalists, the Terra project, I believe they're called, and the actual Mars project himself. So the Terra project uses 3D printing as well, same technology, except the materials they use is just pure concrete. Now, you might say concrete's not really, can't really export concrete to Mars, kind of mad. But anyway, they put the two together to see what will happen. Now, if you can see the image below, there's just a comparison of what, so one of the kind of the factors you needed to have was strength. So what they did was at the final bit, when everything's constructed, they found out it was radiation proof, wind proof, whatever. As you can see, they got a big, massive digger and tried to apply as much pressure on it as possible. The concrete structure on the right collapsed completely once pressure was applied. Now, the structure on the left was the Marshall Project structure. And I don't know if the image on the top left actually does it any justice, but that actual digger is coming off its, I don't know, wheels or something in the front. And that structure is supporting that digger. So it's incredibly strong and it's amazing feat for something that's just created from rocks and a bit of plastic that can be found on Mars. Now, they do plan to ship this, kind of get this going, I think, by the year 2050. So it'll be interesting to see how things turns out in the future. Now, the next kind of establishment is harnessing the power of AI, and I actually got my kind of inspiration from my own project from this study is SETI. So they're essentially asking the question, are we alone? Are there aliens out there, extraterrestrials, whatever you want to call them? So what SETI have done is they've created an algorithm that highlights regular patterns within radio observation and isolates irregular patterns in radio observations. Now, when they're doing this, they focus their telescopes, the Allen Telescope Array, on a solar system known as the TRAPPIST-1 system. It's 40 light years away. Now, what's interesting about this is when they actually pointed their telescope to this TRAPPIST system, they were actually listening to a conversation between two planets that happened over 40 years ago, because the planets are 40 light years away. And as in the middle kind of GIF, you can see an irregular spike, as in it's massive. The potential, this is obtained by using what's called, as in a convolutional neural network, except it was a really elongated one. And the potential for this, what they're doing is essentially finding a needle in a haystack upon dozens and dozens of haystacks. And artificial intelligence can allow them to do that because it's extremely brilliant at identifying patterns. Now, this may look like a spike to you and a spike to me, but this has the possibility of being aliens trying to get into contact with us. This could be like, hello, we're over here. So the prospect of this is actually really exciting. And I look forward to see what they come out with in the future. This is actually only a recent study. And as I said, this kind of got me thinking about my own, what sort of algorithm I'd be using for my own research. Which brings me on to my next topic, which is my own, is using artificial intelligence with solar radio bursts. So essentially what I'm doing is using artificial intelligence to monitor the sun's weather. Now, the tools I'm using is actually LOFAR. If anyone's familiar with this, if anyone's not, it's a radio telescope located in Burr, County Offaly. It operates at the frequency range of 10 to 240 megahertz, so low frequency range. So you're getting all the good stuff. It's not just one radio telescope, it's 50 and counting, but it's definitely more than 50 now at this stage. and they're located across Europe, and they can either operate as one standalone station or all 50 working together to identify whatever they're looking at. So the reason why we want to get this going is to have, like, as I said there, upgrade LOFAR to observe the heliosphere constantly. So it's having some person to look at observations is awfully tedious, especially if it's over a couple of hours long. So having a machine learning do that for us, it's actually quite good. And long term, hopefully, it will operate as a space weather instrument. So, as I said, to monitor the sun constantly. So the sun and its weather. So when I say the sun, I'd probably tell you to just think big. I mean massive. The sun is huge on an enormous scale. To put this into perspective, it's 1.3 million times the size of Earth. So you can only imagine what the weather is actually like. So the weather on a radio scale is classified from type 1 to type 3. So there's 5 types. With the 2 I'm going to focus on, which is most common ones, notably actually the most common one is actually the type 3. So the type 3 looks like that on a radio dynamic spectrum. It's obviously from 20 to 100 megahertz. These last probably 1 to 10 seconds, which further difficults the problem. While the type 2s could last from a couple of minutes to a couple of hours, which is not too bad. So these are the kind of solar weather we're trying to identify with this algorithm in question. So the algorithm I'm talking about is called YOLO, and I'm afraid it doesn't mean you only live once. It actually means you only look once. So essentially what YOLO is doing is looking at an image